everyone. Welcome to our closing reception of Sensibility, Revealed Truths, Tensions, and Vulnerability, juried by Taylor Barnes. Taylor is an artist who lives and works in Austin, Texas, and recently graduated with her MFA from UNT. Taylor has shown with us before at our Fiber show, back when we had it in the Foundry District. She's had solo exhibitions at Aaron Coley Gallery in Dallas, 500X, and recently Big Medium in Austin, Texas. She was honored with the Sylvia Holgand Emerging Artist Award for Make Art with a Purpose 2020, and we are honored to call her the juror for this show. Taylor writes, "We as Black people are always placed in a position to teach instead of existing. I'm humbled to be chosen as juror of this show, creating a safe space of understanding and acknowledgement for us. This show is open to any who feel their work give voice to their personal experiences, whether figurative, non-representational, text-based, image-based, and everything in between. I want you to know that even if you do not make it into this show, this is the time to apply to anything you want. The world has momentarily opened its eyes. Jump on it. If this show calls to you, take the chance on yourself and apply." I'm talking to the one Black girl in the sea of white eyes in the back. I see you. I had the absolute honor of interviewing Elizabeth Hill and talking to her about her process and her inspiration, and also Kevin Appiah-Kubi, and they were just really great, enlightening conversations. Their work is so fantastic. I'm really always impressed with our emerging artists in our community and beyond, and these two are ones to look for in the future. I wanted to let everybody know that the proceeds for the show, for work that has sold, 40% of the proceeds go to Black Futures Lab, and you can find more information on blackfutureslab.org. And then the 60% obviously goes to the artists. So, go check out our website, www.artroomfw.org. Check out the show. I know we're closing, but go see the work. It'll still be up on the website, but, go purchase, support these artists. So stay tuned and check out these great interviews. Thanks so much. Thanks for supporting Art Room. Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good. I can.
Awesome. Hello.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too virtually. I wish I could be there physically to shake your hand. But yeah.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you go by Elizabeth or Lizzie?
So I typically go by Elizabeth, but I feel like a lot of my friends and family members will call me Lizzie. So honestly, it flip-flops,
Cool.
But
cool.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like this is the first time I showered and put makeup on in a long time. Feels kind of good.
Same. I put on a little bit of eyeliner, some lip gloss. I had to do it up a little bit. So I completely understand. Yeah.
I know. And usually my lighting is a little better. I need to do you have one of those rings? Those
I've seen them, the ring lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those, I think.
They do really make a difference. I do not have one. Yeah.
No, I think I need to invest in one of those. I mean, I'm not a Zoom professional by any means. I'm really not on this much. Yeah. But I don't know. I can see it in people's eyes.
Yes, the little circle.
I'm like, you know what you're doing.
I mean, if we're going to be doing Zoom for a while longer, then it might be a good investment, just saying. But yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I want to congratulate you on the show.
Thank you.
And I I really love your work. I wish I could see it in person because I
Yeah.
know when something is three-dimensional, you lose some of that in a flat photography.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I can't wait to see it one day when I make my way out in the world. I know, are you in any shows other than Art Room's show currently?
Not currently. You're the only show that I'm in at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any coming up?
So there's a few coming up like next year.
Okay.
So I have like an installation coming up, and then there's possibly a group show that I'll be in at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, and maybe something with 500X. But yeah, I feel like most of these things are like next year. And I might submit something for the Black Voices show at 500X this year. So there's that too. But
cool.
Yeah. So
Oh, good. Well, you've got a good list. Awesome.
I have a few things on the list right now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Is Art Room actually open to the public currently, or are you guys still closed?
No, we are. So we don't have our space anymore. We are just we're just working remotely right now, and so I think we're going to try to look for maybe a space in 2021, a new space, or maybe just pop up. I know that the Community Arts Center in Fort Worth is going to host us for our Small Works show next month. And they're an amazing resource. So we'll utilize them as much as we can. But Art Room started as a pop-up gallery. And so I think we can utilize that platform if we, moving forward, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
fingers crossed.
For workshops. Oh, I know.
Hope you guys find a space.
I do too. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Okay, so, my Siri is talking. Thinks I'm talking to it. Okay. So, can you talk to us a little bit about your process, how you get started on a piece, how you choose your materials, and then when you know you're done?
Sure. So I guess if I just start from like the beginning of the process, I hardly ever sketch out my ideas anymore. I feel like, I did that a lot in college because we were kind of required to do that. But after I graduated, especially, I just kind of phased out of it. I typically the idea pops into my head and then I just kind of dive straight into it. And then I take that very loose idea and I like work with it and I see if it's working or if I need to tweak it or change something up. But I feel like most of my ideas start with just like general like shapes or colors in my head. And I'm like, that might be pretty interesting. And so then it just comes down to kind of playing with those shapes and playing with those color combinations and seeing what works together. But that's how it starts. And especially when it comes to like the shapes, that kind of translates into like what kind of materials I'll use. If I'll bring in like a 3-dimensional material, or if I can create that shape 2-dimensionally with just paint or like drawing materials. So it really just depends on that initial idea. But usually they kind of like they speak to one another.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming when you're getting started where a piece is completed. I mean, if I'm thinking about your process and the way you're describing it, it's almost probably finished already in your mind. And so when you're creating it, it's not like an elaborate painting where you're like, maybe it needs a little more of this or a little more of this. It sounds like that's already figured out from the beginning.
Yeah. It's definitely not the same as like representational work, which even then, like even if you're creating like a representational painting, like you're still kind of like, do I need to darken this or do I need to add this? So there's still kind of that element of unsureness. But I feel like you said, like whenever I think of an idea, I have the final product in my head. And so it seems like it would be easier to know when it's done. But still I get to the very end of the process and there's always that moment where I'm like, is it actually done though? And so I'll just have to like stand back or I'll have to walk away or sleep on it or come back to it. So it's like super intuitive. And so I just kind of have to like know pretty much. Like if I look at a piece and it just feels off, if I just feel not right within myself, I know that it's not complete. or I know I need to take something away or add something. So it's very intuitive for me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I know the pieces you have in the show are smaller in scale, right?
Yes, they are.
Sorry, I don't know why my
No, you're fine.
bothering me. Do you usually work small, or do you work large scale as well?
I feel like in the past I tended to go like larger, not like super, super large, which I would love to do at some point. That's something I'm definitely going to be working on soon. But in the past, I would go more so on like the larger side. But I feel like recently, I've been doing smaller things, like within like the past maybe couple of years, it's been smaller things. Um, Especially like right now, the things that I'm doing currently, I just started back making art after like an 8-month hiatus. And so to kind of like dip my toes back into the water, I was like, let me just start small. Maybe I shouldn't overwhelm myself with like a huge painting right away. So yeah, I'm just doing smaller things, but I'm now that I have my studio at the Cedars Union, I have more space to create things that are much larger, which I love. I love having that option because before it wasn't really an option. So I'm definitely making my way back to the bigger side.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so you have a double minor, and you went to UNT,
yes,
correct?
And then,
so you have a double minor in women's and gender study and art history. So how does that influence your art?
So I feel like with women's and gender studies specifically, if I'm just starting with that one, that minor definitely opened my eyes to a lot of like just the inner workings of the systems that are in place currently within our society. It really opened my eyes to that and shined a light on those things that I just wasn't aware of prior to learning about them in those classes. And my women's and gender studies classes definitely spoke to my art history classes because, as we all know, like art history is very, very whitewashed. There's a lot of white artists, a lot of like white male artists, and so those two minors really spoke to each other. And so it got me wondering. I'm like, okay, well, these systems probably made it this way for a reason, And so I feel like the fact that art history is kind of like ruled by and controlled by just like basically like white male artists. I feel like we were made to believe that those were, like the greats, those were like the only good artists out there. But then you kind of come to college and you start to unlearn that a little bit. It's still it can be better. But I feel like whenever I came to college, I started to unlearn those things. And I learned about artists of color. I learned about women artists. I remember my senior year at UNT, I took a women in art history class just so I could get that extra little bit of information. But yeah, so I feel like they definitely spoke to each other, and it kind of encouraged me to look into like the unspoken voices that weren't really being heard of or heard from in art history, especially.
And so on that note, is there a specific artist that you ended up researching along the way that you feel like you're more inspired by?
Yes. So actually in 2017, I went on this trip to New York with a painting and drawing class just to do some like on-site research and stuff. And so we went to quite a few museums, one of which being the Brooklyn Museum. And at the time they had the We Wanted a Revolution Black Radical Women show on. And I'm like 99% sure I had never seen an exhibition that was just Black women. And I was like so like overcome with emotion. I was very emotional. It was just like a new experience for me. And I just remember that being like a very pivotal time for me. And so I feel like I learned about a lot of artists from that show that I hadn't really heard of before. One of which being, actually, I think I have a little memo in my phone with some of the names.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can find it. Oh, okay, yeah. So like Betty Saar, especially, because she does like the assemblage sort of like these like square rectangular forms with like kind of, I feel like my work speaks to hers and like in the way that mine is about like containment. and just like shapes within shapes, and hers is very similar, you know? And so I feel like Betty Saar is definitely someone that I look up to, like artistically. And there's also Barbara Chase Rebood and Beverly Buchanan and Marin Hassinger. And so those are just like a few names that I can remember from that show. There was like a long list of them, but I think just being in that space with so many amazing works by these Black women artists, it just really like empowered me to keep going as an artist and to keep taking up space in the art world. I think it was a very important moment for me. But those are just like a few names from that show specifically. But I feel like I don't just look at like painters or people who draw or like even just sculptors. I feel like a lot of my inspiration comes from like photographers as well, and like the color palettes that they use in their photography. Like what's his name? Marcus Soriano. He has like the most amazing photography, and just like the bright, vibrant color palettes and used photographs really influenced my work because I love bright, vibrant color. But yeah, those are just a few names I would say. Yeah, I won't list a bunch, I guess. there's a lot more. There's a lot more. But
well, there are some I don't recognize, so I can't wait to go and look at them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember going to the Brooklyn Museum for the first time, and I think it's McLean Thomas.
Yes.
She had her show there, and I specifically wanted to go to the Brooklyn Museum to see it. And she had a video as one of the installation pieces, and I cried. I mean, It was the most beautiful, amazing, and to see how large scale her work is and the intricate details, just
I love that. I think I've seen a few of her pieces. I believe she was at the Fort Worth Modern Art Museum at one point.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe she was. And so like seeing it in person is definitely way, way better. Like, I don't know. But yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. So in your artist statement, you talk about how your mental health kind of creates a framework for some of your compositions.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I maybe like relatively recently, I guess, like towards like the end of my college career is when I really started to figure out like the reason why I was creating the things that I was creating. I was just kind of like making things, and I would just kind of like rule it out as like intuition, like, oh, I'm just making this because it feels right. But then I realized, okay, I'm making this for a very specific reason. Like subconsciously, I was making these things because it just seems like in my head at any given point of the day, it's very hyperactive. There's a lot going on. And so I feel like with my artwork, I make these shapes. Well, let me go back. I feel like my artwork is very heavily influenced by shape and color. And so with these shapes, I feel like in a sense, I'm like, through my work, I am exploring like containment and basically like, what's it called? Mental compartmentalization. That's what I'm getting at. And so I feel like there's like a very negative connotation with mental compartmentalization because it's seen as like a thing where you just kind of like tuck it away. You don't think about it. You like throw away the key. But I feel like with me, it's like whenever I sit down to create something, it's very meditative for me. And so whenever I'm making these shapes and I'm putting, whether they're 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional, whenever I'm putting these shapes within each other, it's kind of like me physically acting out what I'm trying to do in my head, where I'm like, putting things where they need to go, tucking them away, but I'm not necessarily not addressing them. So I say it's therapeutic because as I'm like making a piece, I'm like, it's a time for me to just be with myself, to think about things, to sort through things. And so, that's where the containment aspect of my work comes in. I have like a few box pieces where they resemble boxes, and I have like just different forms within them. And even like my 2-dimensional pieces, like one of the pieces that I have, or both of the pieces that I have in the show, they have 2-dimensional elements in them, one of which has 3-dimensional. But that's where the containment aspect comes in. And then also, I feel like recently I've started to realize that my work, like my style kind of like plays on themes of like power and vulnerability. And so not power, control and vulnerability. And I say that because, you know, the current state of the world is very topsy-turvy. Like we all feel a little bit out of control right now. And so I feel like recently, like lately, whenever I sit down and I consciously decide to make a piece that's more of like the clean lines, like neat around the edges, that's me kind of trying to like regain some control in my life. And then sometimes when I feel like I've been too pent up, too much in control, trying to like hold on to everything, I'll kind of flip over and I'll do something a little more loose, a little bit more, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but something more so in that area. So I feel like I can do things on both ends of the spectrum. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
You know, I feel like people don't give enough credit to art elements and the things that we have to build upon and have to know in order to do some of these maybe hyper realistic paintings or sculptures or whatever. It's like, I don't think we give enough credit to the art education that we get for, you know, the properties and the elements of art. And it sounds like you are utilizing that so well, and it shows in your work. And so anyways, bravo for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So as a Black female artist yourself, do you think or see that kind of the art world landscape has changed at all? And then if so, in what ways? And if not, how do you think that, you know, we can move the needle forward in the right direction?
So I feel like with the onset of the most recent political unrest that started like during the summer, I feel like it definitely inspired a lot of people to push against the status quo, to push against the system as it's existing right now. And a lot of museums, a lot of art institutions were called out on their BS for their historic exclusion of like Black voices or just people of color in general, like their exclusion of these voices of these artists. And so that made me very happy. I'm glad that they're finally getting called out for these things and they're being held accountable for their actions. But I also, it's kind of sad that it took a situation like this for them to, and, you know, I wouldn't even really say, I feel like in a lot of cases, it's not like a genuine want to change. It's just these art institutions kind of trying to save face, really. And so I wish I could say that with all of these places, with all of these museums, it's them genuinely wanting to, you know, be better about like the representation that they have in their spaces, like behind these walls. But I can't really say that. But I say all of that to say, I do feel like things are shifting. I do feel like things are changing, but it's simply because the general public is forcing them to change. Because if we hadn't started to say anything, if we hadn't started to call them out on social media, they would still be sitting comfortably in the position that they were in before. And so I feel like for the change to continue, the general public, the people who frequent these places are going to have to keep holding them accountable. We're going to have to keep reminding them like, hey, you said this thing in June, it's October, you still haven't really done anything besides putting out this statement. Like, what are you going to do? And so I feel like it's going to be a lot of work on our end, but then I think also these higher ups within these spaces need to realize, you know, the work should be on your end. Like you should be the one putting in all the work for this. You know, like maybe hiring more people of color to sit at these tables. But then also we have to remember it doesn't just stop at hiring more Black people and people of color. Like you need to create a workspace that feels healthy, that feels like a place where, you know, somebody like you would want to go. So the work just never stopped. And I feel like and they get comfortable and they think that they've done enough. But you know, there's years and years and years and years of like systemic issues that need to be undone. So it's just going to be like an ongoing thing, really. But yeah, so I feel like it's going to have to be the general public, like people like you and I, who just keep pushing at them. But then also they're going to have to realize that things are going to have to change. Like the way that the art world is set up, it needs to change for it to be sustainable for these for artists like me and for artists that, you know, that are just marginalized in general.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't wait to see what happens in a year. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I want to see what it looks like
Me too.
in a year and what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, I sometimes I have a lot of hope and sometimes I feel distressed.
Yes.
I think anxiety over, not to bring up the election, but it gives, I know it's giving everybody anxiety.
Definitely.
And I'm ready to move forward either way. But I think you're right. I think staying on it, not you know, letting our guard down, and you know, just focusing our energy in a positive, specific directional way is what's going to help.
Exactly. And honestly, like the way that the systems are set up, it feels like they've been this way from the very beginning. So it seems like we almost need to do like a complete upheaval, like a complete turn on its head, redo it sort of thing. So yeah, that may be what it comes down to. But like you, I'm really looking forward to seeing what things are like in a year. If there's been like any considerable, like tangible change, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're at the Cedars Union?
Yes, I'm at the Cedars Union.
Oh my gosh. Do they do tours over there? I have a couple of friends who are in there and I would love to come see it.
You know, I think that they just started doing tours again. You have to, of course, schedule an appointment. But I think that they are available now. It's just like, you know, there's more like in advance planning that needs to be done, of course. And but we're not completely closed off anymore. So if you wanted to schedule an appointment to do a tour, I think I can send you an email. I think maybe Rachel or Adrian at the Cedars Union would be able to like facilitate that. So yeah, definitely.
That would be wonderful. I'd love that. So great. Well, Elizabeth, it was amazing talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing your pieces in person and meeting you in person someday soon.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to meeting you in person too and shaking your hand and all that good stuff. And thank you so much for being accommodating with like the interview, like the pre-recorded interview and stuff like that. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, so awesome. This was really awesome. Thank you for interviewing me.
Yes, awesome. Okay, well, have a great night. And
you too.
Let me know if you need anything.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Can you hear me? Good. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Is it clear?
Oh, my Siri likes to, if I ask a question, it likes to connect and try to answer it. So I apologize. She may do that while we're talking. I like what's going on in the background. Is this a new work you're working on?
Yeah, I've been working on it for a while. It's like on and off, but
yeah. That's very nice. I like it.
Thank you.
It reminds me of the work that you submitted. It's reminiscent of, you know, like art history, and I'm excited to get into it with you about that. When I started reading your artist statement about the work, I was just blown away. I was just so cool. So the idea was great. I can't wait to hear more about it. I'm just really excited. So congrats for getting into the show. And I'm just excited to get to know you a little more, and for our art room friends to get to know you a little better too.
Cool.
So you grew up in Brooklyn?
Yeah, Coney Island to be specific.
Island.
I don't know if you know of Coney Island. They're notorious for their Nathan's hot dog eating contests, but yeah.
I spent a summer at Pratt, and we took a couple trips to Coney Island and did the whole beach thing. So it was fun. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So what brought you to Texas?
Well, it was mainly two reasons. One, it was getting like kind of expensive for my parents, so living out there was just kind of getting a little difficult. And two, I have parents on my mom's side, so most of my mom's siblings, they live out here, so we knew moving out here wouldn't be so difficult for us to adjust. So yeah.
How old were you when you moved here?
It was in 2008, so I was about 13, 14.
And were you interested in art before you moved here? Have you always been interested in art?
I would say kind of. Like I would doodle here and there, but I don't think I was taking it too serious. But it wasn't until I got to high school and I took a photography class, and we practiced film first before we did digital, and that kind of sparked my interest in photography, and it grew as I went to college. But yeah.
Nice. So you went to Wichita State University? No.
Midwestern State.
Midwestern State in Wichita.
Yeah.
Falls.
Yeah, Wichita Falls.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you choose? Did they have a good art program?
So I knew they had a good art program, but I was going there for sort of to be on the medical side, because that's kind of where my head was at first. But in the back of my mind, I kind of knew I'd probably change my major along the line. So I knew they had a good art program there. So I kind of was kind of like my safe bet for that. So I was doing the medical thing for about a year and a half, and then I just knew it wasn't for me. So I changed to do a BFA. And,
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Did you end up minoring in anything science related, or did you just give it up completely and just?
Yeah, it was just straight art. So majored in painting, minored in drawing.
Yeah.
Or
cool.
Majored in photography.
Okay.
Minored in
photography. Drawing. Okay, cool. Yeah, you have a lot of different mediums. When you look at your website, you dabble in all the things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have a favorite? Is there one you're drawn to more than the others?
I feel like they all sort of work themselves into one another. So I think like with photography, it gives me a good basis as far as like having image references for drawings or for painting. So I think it works well in that way. And sometimes if I'm kind of feeling like there's a slump in one area, I can always go to another one. So there's always like two others that I can mix around in. So
yeah, I like that. I like your mix. And I can definitely, when I was looking at your photography, I can see the interrelation between that and some of your paintings and even drawings. That completely makes sense to me. Okay, so I'm so curious about this piece. So it's called The Keepers of Knowledge. And this is a collaboration piece that you did. So, and you met Judson in school. You guys were at school together?
Yeah, we were both art majors.
So how did you guys collaborate? Was that an assignment? Did you just know that you wanted to do that? Or how does that work?
We kind of knew we wanted to do a collaboration somewhere along the lines. We didn't know if it would be in school or it would be after we graduated. But I think as we kind of got closer to graduation, we tried to figure out some kind of way to get it done. And in the upper level painting classes, we kind of have more freedom to do more projects that are more self-assigned. So that was an idea that I brought to our professor, and he was okay with it. So, yeah.
And when you were painting, because it looks really cohesive, it doesn't look like two people painted it. How did you technically make that happen?
So we took the photograph first. So all the objects in there, like his side, is, you know, his personal belongings and my side are my personal belongings, and then there's kind of some things in the middle that we kind of share because we were also roommates as well. So yeah, so he did his portion, and then like if he kind of needed help with one thing, I would kind of, you know, give a suggestion or, you know, paint a certain area for him really quick, and same with my side as well. So it was really collaborative.
Very, very cool. Okay, so, you know, the art historical aspects of this piece is that it's kind of based on The Ambassadors by Hans Holbein the Younger. What was the intent behind using that specific piece? And what do some of the representational elements that you used specifically, you can probably speak more to your side than his, potentially. How is that significant in reference to the art historical piece, as well as the figures themselves? That's a very large question.
So I think what really drew me to it was I was doing research and I saw a painting by Kerry James Marshall. It's called School of Beauty, and it has that sort of elongated image in the middle. But in his, it's sort of like I think it's one of the princesses, Disney princesses, and so her head is sort of elongated. So when I saw that piece, I wondered what his reference was. So doing research, I found the Hans Holbein piece, and seeing those two guys standing there, I thought that me and Justin could play off that idea in some sort of way. So we played off of that, and then we came up with this idea to do it this way. So it takes references from it that aren't so exact, but I think what we mainly took from it was sort of their posture and how they have objects in both hands, and then they've got the objects that are in between them. So I think those are the two main things that we drew inspiration from. So it wasn't necessarily to take ourselves and just substitute ourselves into the exact work, but to just draw some inspirations here and there, but to sort of create our own piece and idea. So
okay, that makes sense. So more of the framework, the composition, more inspired the work. Yeah, I was going to ask if you why you guys didn't try to replicate that elongated skull.
Right.
That is in that anamorphic skull. I think it's crazy.
I think so.
I haven't experienced that in person, but that would be cool to see. Very cool. So I wanted to ask one more question that I didn't send you. So do you have any projects coming up, any shows coming up that I can promote for you?
Well, I have this show next year. It's at a gallery near Midwestern State University. It's going to be some smaller works that I'm going to make for the show. So I think those stem from my senior show that I did, which was based on sort of these figures within the church space. So it's kind of like what people do during church service that I always attend to. So there'll be smaller works. They want about 20 to 25. So that's the main thing that I'm working towards right now for next year. And then there's this one over here and some smaller things and studies and things like that. So,
So is the one behind you purely a self-portrait, or is it in reference to something?
It's a self-portrait.
Just a self-portrait. Yeah. I like it. I like that. I like your paint palette. That's my favorite part. That's very cool. Do you work from home, or do you have a studio somewhere?
It's working from home. Yeah. It's just my room. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Same. I feel you. Okay. So as a Black male artist, do you see the art world landscape kind of changing for people of color? And if so, how? And if not, what do you think will help move the needle in the right direction?
I think it's kind of like two sides to it. I think there are ways that opportunities are coming about, and then there are still ways where it's kind of lacking. So I think ways that are helping, there are more opportunities for people like just recently, Kehinde Wiley doing the portrait of Obama, and then Amy Sherlin doing the Michelle Obama portrait. You know, that was such a really big moment for just to see something like that. Sort of like inspires me to know that, oh, it's possible to sort of reach those kind of lengths and to reach a broader audience, a broader community. So there's that aspect. But then, you know, another aspect is, you know, you go to museums and you don't really get that sort of grand scheme of what exactly is out there besides, you know, old European artists from way back when. So I think having more opportunities to showcase more artists from throughout our history within museums, and you know, getting opportunities like even like with the opportunity that you gave me and those that were accepted, just things like that sort of help move the needle forward and gives more people a voice to share with those that want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Taylor was in a show, one of our first shows. Art Room used to just be a pop-up gallery. And before we became a nonprofit, and Taylor was at UNT, I think she was still at UNT, and she was in one of our shows. And so I always just remembered her as being a really thoughtful person, and I really wanted her to give her this opportunity because I think this was her first time to jury show. And I was really impressed with both her selections and, again, her thoughtfulness. And I was excited. I mean, the reason that, you know, we started Art Room is to kind of showcase emerging artists. And I love that we're getting to see this whole new generation of people coming in. And it's just really, I don't know, amazing to me. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you submitting, and I loved getting to know your work. I can't wait to see more of it. Do you ever go back up to New York? Do you still have family up there?
No, just a couple of friends here and there, but we chat on FaceTime and stuff. So
Yeah.
But I haven't been back. So
yeah. I was just telling Elizabeth Hill that the Brooklyn Museum was just like one of my favorites when I went to visit. It's just, I don't know, just think they do a good job with their curatorial placement and everything. But no, that's very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this tonight. I really appreciate it. It was great getting to know you.
Yeah, it was great getting to know you. Thank you for the opportunity again.
Yes, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously, keep going, keep pushing, keep making work. You're doing a great job. Can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Well, chat soon. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thank you, Katie.
Bye-bye.